Morning everyone, it's Simon here. I'm just sharing a video like I said I would of how you can make an OMR scanning system that then can be uploaded into your Salesforce org, and a quick way really of getting paper feedback onto the system. So I'm going to start off by showing you the various tools that I've been using, and the first one is FormRead. So you see the address up here. This is a system I found which offers OMR Technology at a very cheap price. As you see, you go to this address and you click to register, nice and simple. Once you've registered, it will take you to this site here. So this is the sign-in of FormRead. With various things down the side, profile forms, form processing, things like that. First thing you want to be doing is installing the font. The reason you need to do this is because when you create your form, you need to have this particular font, or the square or rectangular, for the people to mark in. It's very simple to do. Click, open, and then install. And that's it done. The other thing you want to be looking at are the form templates, and these are the various kind of Word documents that you make your forms in. Now I've started off with a blank letter, a blank A4, but as you can see there's ones that have already been pre-filled, and these are for if you've kind of like got an answer sheet which you want to be giving to somebody as well as the questions on a different sheet. Well, there's this one here, which is, you can just about see, has got some of the questions in. What I'm going to do is show you one of the forms that I made, and then I'll quickly show you how you can make these forms. So on the desktop here, we can see one of the forms that I've made. This is to be filled out by round about 25,000 children. So as you can imagine, we'd rather not enter this by hand. We'd rather find a speedier way of doing it. Now there's a few rules that you have. When you download the form, you have these corners here, and these are what are used by FormRead to be able to know the boundaries of the form. The other thing you have to have is you have to have this font, which is the one that we've just downloaded and installed. And the other rule is that the columns have to be aligned evenly. So an easy way to do that is select these columns, and then within here, apart from when I've selected it now, let me just do it this way. There we go. Distribute columns evenly. We click on that, they're all distributed, and that's perfectly fine. You can fit as many in as you want to that page, depending on obviously how many questions you have. I haven't yet found a way of going over 2 pages without scanning it separately, and I've spoke to the developer, and it's something that he'd like to do, but if, to be honest, at the moment you are limited to a single page. If you need to fit more questions in, then you need to consider using, as I say, a question sheet and an answer sheet, so all the answers come in at the same time. Okay, let me close down that form. Going to go back to FormRead, and we're going to show you how we create the forms. So up here you've got tutorials which you can go through. We have the option to create a form here. Now I'm just going to show you a quick example of the one I used. So test. Upload an image or PDF. I go for PDF because Word easily saves to PDF, and it helps keep all the formatting how I like it. So I'm going to find the form that I'd made. Here we go, click to upload, and this is my form. Now up the top here you have the options that you want to be using to add your questions. I'm going to be using OMR Circle, and I'm going to be using QR code because in my document that I'm going to be sending around to my colleagues, I've created a field within Salesforce that automatically generates a QR code, and I'm going to be using that to give my identifier to the various events that these forms are going to be handed out to. So quite simply, create the event on Salesforce, automatically creates a QR code, and they simply have to copy paste this in, and when we go to scan it, it will do the association for me, so I don't need any names, anything like that. Okay, going to show you how we do one of the questions. First of all, add your field name. So I'm going to do the first question, are you a boy or girl? ID field, no, there's various iterations you can do. So if people have a number as their ID, you can set it up in a way that it either can concatenate various questions together or identify it as an ID field. Really have a look at the tutorial at that. I've used it to a point, but I'm sure you can find a lot more use than me. Horizontal, because it's going across. The output I'm wanting is 1, 2, 3. It's 1 row and 3 columns. I don't want multi-marks in this case, and I don't want to concatenate. Create field. Now what you do is you simply click on the first question. I just look up here, we've got a mark radius. Now this is quite important because depending on the size of your circles, you want to be adjusting the size of the mark radius accordingly. If you have a large mark radius, then the person will have to fill the whole mark radius in, or a significant proportion of it, for it to be marked as kind of a true answer. If you make it small, then they simply have to go almost near it with a pen and it will be marked. So for us, we're dealing with kids. They're not particularly good at filling it in where you want, so I've gone for a rather small mark radius of 8, which I'm going to pop right in the center. So once I've done the first click, I can just move it. My next click is at the end, and I can move that into the right position as well. And my third click is somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have to be on there, it just needs to be in between these 2 marks. And let's double click, and it creates the third one, and that's my first field finished. So I'm just going to do a second one for you to show you why. As you can see, it fills in the middle, so it uses the distance, which is why we have to have the columns equally distanced apart. So this one is, how old are you? It's good to put in a decent field name that matches your question, so when you go to putting in Salesforce or looking back at the form itself, it's easy to match. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns. Everything else is the same. Click on the first one, click on the last one, and then click somewhere in the middle, auto-fills all of them. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you is a QR code. So this is, for me, is the opportunity. Is an ID field. I want to create field. Now I click at the top left, bottom right, give yourself a bit of space on this, somewhere in the middle, and that's my QR code done. Save my form, and that's all done. Now if I show you one that I created earlier, here we go. So this is a completed form. You can see the red line, which is there because it has found the corners. You can see my QR code in the top left, and I filled out every question. That's a completed form. Now we're going to go to the processing. So the processing is quite easy. Before this, actually, I'm going to just show you the membership. I think that's important. So price-wise, you get 20 scans at a time and reading completely free. To read 100,000 sheets without restrictions is simply $100. Easy as that, just $100. So really, even though in this instance I'm using 20 forms, if you pay the $100, it's as much as your scanner can take. We're using a simple multi-photocopier thingy which scans in. What I've done is I've put it to black and white because it measures the amount of black rather than the amount of grey. So I put it to black and white. I've increased the density twice to make it darker, and that's meant that my reading the quality has gone up. And you really have to mess around with your own photocopier to find what works best for you, but what you're trying to do is get as much black within the circle as possible if you want it to be marked as yes. Okay, so let's go back to the form processing. See, this is my form up here, so I want to read, and then I want to find the file with my results. I'm on a very old computer, which is why this is looking slow, so this would be much quicker on a snazzy computer. There you go, 20 forms loaded. These you want to read up on. I've found that these settings work particularly well with me. What I do is slightly increase your threshold to around 190, something like that. Once that's done, I click Form Read, asking me if I want to become premium, which I don't. And there are my results. Now you'll see that there's a couple of M's here. This is because there are multi-marks, and this was when I did the demo, I wanted to fill in some kind of errors on the form, so it gives me an M for a multi-mark. I could go back and check that. What I'm tending to do, I mean this isn't the ultimate solution, is I am looking through the forms before they come in and just having a quick run through them to make sure that they look okay. Just to kind of increase the readability, but when it comes to it, over manual entry on I think it's 25,000 forms, if you can make a 5-second reduction over manual, then that saves a week of work, 35 hours. So you know, it really does make an improvement when you're talking about scale. And that's all my results done. So I've got a choice. I go to Set Tables, and then I can CVS print or copy. In this case, I'm going to copy. Okay, just going to show you now the master form which I created. You don't have to do this, but if you want to change the numbers into words in Excel, you can do it here. So in this page, I paste in the various answers that I was given. You can see the ID and all the numbers that were generated. This page here, sorry, let me scroll up. We have a little formula which you can see at the top. It looks as if it takes time, but it doesn't really, because you do it a few times and copy down. So depending on what the answer was on this form, 1, it will convert it into the words that I want, and these words are the ones that will match with my Salesforce pick list values, so it goes in with no problem. This is the parent ID. As you can see, it's a record ID, simple as that. So that's my identifier for my event, and this is my record type because I wanted to create different versions of the feedback depending on the type of event, because we get different questions obviously, so I need different record types. I've chosen different record types, and that helps me know what it is. So let's close that down. Data loader. Next step, data loader. Insert. I'm sure you all know how to do this. I've got to verify, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. You quite simply load it on data loader using the whatever your identifier is to associate it with the right place, and then I'm just going to show you what it looks like in the org. So I'm just going to log off and log back on. Okay, so I've logged on to my org now, and you can see what Data Loader has done. Briefly going to show you the QR code. So for us, we have these parent opportunities which we have as our events. There's a simple field here which I can show you later how to do, which creates a QR code whenever an event is created. And this is the one that you simply copy image and you paste into the survey or questionnaire. So let's click on one, see what it looks like. So here we go, we've got all the answers, all the questions there. If you do have to do it short, as you know, it's good practice to put your descriptions and your helps in so that people know what it's on about. And on this form, actually, we had various comments that people could give. But as this technology I'm using, or the one that I'm using, doesn't recognize text, particularly not a 5-year-old scribble, we thought that we would enter that in later. We don't have it identifiable to an individual person, so it doesn't really matter where the comment is. So what we would do is look through the questionnaires, any comments we thought we'd want to add, we would write it in here as a text box, we would click significant comment, which meant we could filter through all of them, pull out the comments to have a look at through a report, and then use them for various things that we want to do, which is generally reporting or saying this kid said that, or all those things about the event. Nice easy dashboard just up here. It's only just started really. Added a filter at the top depending on the event, because we're not going to have a huge amount of different events and we may want to pick out particular ones. So this Guildhall was a special showcase event we did. And simple reports. For us it's percentages. We want to report on how many they agree, what they agree on. And down here I've added a comment. So here we go again. This report pulls out the comments and I can run through the list like that. So that's a relatively simple but definitely cheap way of OMR technology for paper surveys and getting the data into your Salesforce associated with the right things, and hopefully saving you time from entering it manually. I'm now going to just do another quick video just to show you how to do the QR code. Just to finish off, I said I'd talk about the QR code, how to generate it. Now, it's quite simple. You simply Google QR code for Salesforce objects, and it comes up with various options. So there's one here. This, I believe, is the one I use. So thank you, Martin Hurst, just off the dev site. So always trust them, really. And this is what we have to do. So set up, add your formula. Create a field with formula text, and then paste this in, which is really here. This is my code here. I didn't write any of this. This is the one I chose to find off the internet, pasted it in, and it works. Simple as that. As you saw, that then creates a QR code which I can copy, and it's unique to each parent opportunity, and it takes the record ID and puts it in there. All right, I hope that helps. Any questions, just post below. Cheers, bye.